Hey, what's up, y'all? It's been a minute. Today I got a special guest, special episode. Julie Harris presents, and I'm gonna let them take it away about the topic.
We are talking about freaky, deaky, and the lifestyle of kinky.
All right, now it comes new to me. They educate me on certain things that I'm not aware of, but there's a whole underground world of those type of things. And can you elaborate on like, the different types of kinks?
So I mean, there's been a lot more awareness brought to this, especially with like the whole 50 Shades. Although I have to say, anybody who's actually a part of the lifestyle cannot stand 50 Shades of Grey. It is a very inaccurate depiction. Christian is a fucking creep, and if he
Mhm.
weren't a billionaire and he were just some random dude off the street, the shit that he pulls would not be acceptable. And like the whole shot, yeah, he's creepy. So I mean, yeah, obviously there's BDSM, which is a pretty it's bondage, submission, mass or wait, bondage, submission, masochism is the last one. Sadism and masochism, but then there's like different, like there's three different meanings to BDSM. I can't remember all of them. And then there's just like exhibitionism where people, like to be out fucking in places where they could get caught. And there's voyeurism, people who like to watch other people. There is like there's furries. There's people who like to dress up in animal costumes, and there are people like there's cat girls, girls who literally identify as cats, and there's people who like cat girls and literally pay them to have like their room, and they get like a little comfy, bed, and they wear cat ears and shit all the time, and like cat butt plugs, like tail butt plugs have been a big thing in the scene lately. Um, so yeah, I mean, I like a really good website to kind of get your feels for it is actually FetLife. It's kind of like Facebook for Kinksters, and there's events where you can learn about like there's like when you're talking about like dominant and submissive stuff, there are a group of people called rope tops and rope bottoms, and they I mean, it's literally like getting rigged up and tied up with ropes. And there's like shirabi, which is a very intricate, like old Chinese like thing, or Japanese thing. I'm sorry, shirabi is Japanese. And it's literally an art form. I mean, I'll find some pics and send them to you. It's beautiful actually how the like the thought process that goes into it's very aesthetically pleasing how it's set up and done. So
So it's more so a visual thing as well too.
yes, it's very much a visual thing, but it's also its own type of being a bottom. Like I'll say personally, I'm very submissive, and I'm a little bit of what's called a brat and a sub. Like, but it basically means I get mouthy with my top or my dom, and like it's like one of those talk shit get hit things. So like I matter of fact I saw my dom this weekend, and I'm surprised that I can sit down because I just started laughing about something, and then I got a case of the giggles, and he was like, I know you are not fucking laughing at me. Oh my God, you about to get fucked up. And I was like, oh my God, I can't stop laughing. And then like how he reacted, I mean, it was just yeah. So it's very much a push and pull kind of thing. Like and I will say that like I I I am a very controlling person in a lot of things in my life. There's a lot of things where I have to be very much in control of situations because of the work that I do and stuff like that. So for me personally, it is a relief to have somewhere to let go and not worry about thinking and it's also very much like there's a level of trust that comes with that situation. I mean, and no good dom or top will ever instantly be like, oh, you have to call me sir, because they understand that that's something that is earned. You know what I mean? And that's a big thing too. I would like to touch on while we're talking about all of this is safety in the world of kink. It's you have to be a little bit more safe in the world of kink than you do in the dating world, because there's a lot of guys and a lot of, well, not even a lot of guys, a lot of tops and a lot of so-called doms and dom female doms. It's spelled DOMME, and like of both of all genders, there are people who are really just abusive assholes that like to use kink and topping and BDSM as a excuse to be an abusive asshole and get away with it.
Would that be
And
considered truly sick though?
would it be what?
Truly sick though, sickening, like somebody to do that, use that.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying it doesn't, just because it is considered that does not mean it does not happen at
well,
all.
no, I could imagine people, if they can get away with a lot of stuff, people would do things like that.
No, and it's always very important to you can go to these things called munchies, where you meet people in a safe environment and sorry, excuse me. I mean, personally, I've gotten, I went to go hang out with this guy and I'd met him through some mutual friends. And the friends, we were all hanging out, watching a bunch of like shows and stuff like that. And then my friends had to leave because, you know, her boyfriend had to go to work or whatever. So me and homie kept hanging out, and I like him and I had been talking a little bit, and I knew that he was into like some kink things, and it was a big red flag for me when we were talking. And he was like, well, if we ever do get into that, you know, red is stop, yellow is like, hey, be cautious, and green is go. I'm like, well, yeah, that's very standard in the community for safe words. And he's like, really? I thought I was the one who came up with that. And I was like, oh, red flag, because anybody who's immersed enough in the community would know, like, that is your basic set of safe words is
Sounds
red,
like
stop, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, and there is not a dom or top in the world that would ever has, and honestly, if most of the time, I've never been in a scenario where I've even had the safe word, like with the two doms that I have had. I have one now, and I have one. My first dom was phenomenal. He made sure that like he knew it was me really getting back into it after my divorce, and he took things at a really good pace. And not only that, but I mean, there's responsibilities to being a dom. You know, I am giving you a level of trust that I don't give other people, and nobody else would ever get out of me. I am putting myself in a very, very, very vulnerable situation. And I legitimately, I could get hurt. You know, if you don't know what you're doing and you're not paying attention, you could legitimately hurt me very badly. I mean, you know, there's a lot of, you know, toys out there that used wrong or inappropriately could hurt. Or, you know, let's say somebody's like using a flogger or something and they start going on like your boobs and stuff. There's no dom that would never like cover your face with their hand and turn it your face enough to make sure that like, so if something were to go wrong, your face is covered and your face is protected, and you don't have to worry about getting injured like that. You know, there's a thing called drop, which I experienced for the first time with my first dom, and this dude knew what was happening before I did. It's like you get shaky, all your chemicals have run out, and like you're overwhelmed by them, and it was like a combination of things going on. And like I mean, this dude before, like I just started shaking, and all of a sudden I'm like fucking wrapped up in a blanket, and he's like sitting there talking me through it, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And he's like, you're dropping, you know, this is going on, like I know I've had subs that don't want to be touched. They just want to, they want like a stuffed animal or something, and they want water, and there's things that they need, and I don't know what you need, and I don't think you know what you need. I was like, I don't stop like holding me and like talking to me, please, because that's really helping me. He's like, nope, nope, we'll figure it out together, miss. That's what we're here to do. And like I've never had a real dom not know before I do that I am reaching my limit and pull back, because they should be paying attention. They're in control of everything. So they should be paying attention to all of your cues, not just your verbal cues, but like body cues, tone cues, like there's things that they should even pick up on that I can't explain because I'm not a top at all in any way, shape, or form, and I don't know what those things are to look for, but they do. And I'm gonna tell you what, doms are also very big on feeding you. Like that is the thing. I think that's kind of like a dominant trait in general. Like men, like dominant people and dominant men look out for those around them. They want those around them to be taken care of and, fed and watered and, content. And it's not until those around them are like that, are good, that they are really able to truly relax, because they're the alpha. They're looking out for all their people. It's one of those things like kings do king shit, and that is what makes them king, not jumping up and down screaming, I'm the alpha, I'm the king. They act in ways that are kingly or dominant. And so I mean there's this great bond and this great thing there that it's honestly, like, personally for me, it's really changed me, because I had just gone through a lot. I'd lost my mom and several other people very close to me, and I was going through a divorce, and my on top of that, I had other family things going on with like my father and everything, and I had really shut down, and I didn't know. Sometimes I would react wrong, and just especially with my first dom, and I still do it sometimes with like my current dom, but I would react instead of pulling back and taking the time to think. That I think me, I'm a very logical thinker, and I remember I can't even remember what oh yeah, no. So the first time that I ever got angry with my first dom, I had he was running late to meet some friends, and they had these plans already set and everything, and we got caught up doing what we were doing, and we did what he wanted to do first, and then it's like he came back, and this dude's like fully dressed and like, all right, well, hey, I gotta go meet my buddies and blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, okay, dope. I see how it is. He gets his kind of thing. So I was pissed. I'm walking out, and I like wouldn't let him touch me, and I remember like he stepped in front of me, and he was like, I really wish that you would talk to me, and I was very used to my trying to talk about something with like my ex-husband, and it turning into a bad fight, because of what my ex was going through at that point in time. And I was very afraid of confrontation, and I was like, I'm fine. And he's like, no, miss, you're not fine. You wouldn't even let me like touch you. And you're obvious. I did something to upset you, and I want to know what it is, because I can't fix it unless you talk to me. And he like, I remember finding something to stare at and like not look at him, and like I realized I'd forgot something, so I was on my way over to go grab it, and I was like, dude, honestly, look, it doesn't matter. You got to go hang out with your friends. You got yours. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you got what you wanted, you got yours. So, I mean, fuck it, right? You got shit to do, so why don't you go do it? And he instantly like came over and like hugged me, and he was like, "That's not what this is, and you know it." And I was like, "Well, it might not be what it is, but that's what it feels like." And he was like, "You're right," and I'm an insensitive asshole, and you have every right to feel like that, and I'm really sorry. And he was like, "I'm gonna hit my friends up and let them know that like I'm gonna be late." And I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 I'm not falling into that trap where like, oh, sorry, I gotta be late, boys, because of this chick. Oh, no, no." And he's like, "No, it's not that. It's that it, you're right. You let me do what we wanted to first, and like I was a jerk." And not only that, but like it's very important after a lot of play, or like playing with your dom, or like doing any kind of like play, that like um you have like this decompression time where like you like cuddle and you talk about like how things made you feel and how you're doing, because there are some things that could be triggering. And a lot of the people that are into the especially I think masochists and subs, I think that we've all undergone some trauma, and there can be triggers and shit. Like I've been in the middle of playing with both doms before, and been triggered about something that I don't even understand and what's going on, and just like I start crying or I start shaking, and like if that's a full stop flag drop, they will automatically like bundle me up and like be like, "All right, let's talk. What happened? Are you okay?" And it's so he he understood that like not only did he kind of be a jerk about how he handled it, but he was also skipping like the aftercare part, which is like so important. Like aftercare is a big deal. And he fixed that, and he talked me through it. And I'll say this, like him and I were talking during a very turbulent time of my divorce and everything. And he told me later, he's like, I don't ever talk about your soon to be ex husband, because it's not going to do you any good for me to sit here and bash this guy. You know what I mean? But like, I don't think I've ever been so angry with him as when I watched you like sit there and stare at something, and like he's like, I could tell you flinched in and on yourself to like protect yourself. And like when you got done saying something, you literally flinched away from me because you were worried about how I was going to react. And I think that's like one of the most upsetting things to me I've ever seen. And he helped me sort through my emotions a lot in a time where it was very hard for me to do so. So that's kind of like the obligation of your dom, is like you're entrusting them in this like vulnerable situation, so they have to honor that vulnerability and like be there in other ways throughout the process. And a good dom is going to do that regardless. You know what I'm saying?
So it's safe to say like it's more to it though. It's just not like a thing. It's actually kind of complex in a sense.
Oh, dude, yeah. I actually had a friend who told me he would rather have a girlfriend than a submissive sometimes, because submissives require a lot more work in a lot of ways, specifically because of the type of trust and back and forth that goes with it. He's like, I mean, my sub is literally letting me hurt them, and like they're letting me get my sadist part on me a little bit, and they're submitting to me, and they're getting their masochist side taken care of a little bit, and I'm topping them, which is a need for me. So it's like a mutual thing. But he's like, I mean, really, it's the subs that ultimately, which is true, subs ultimately have the real power, because we can always say no and we can always say stop, and it's consent is number one in everything. Okay. It's always going to be honored.
Gotcha.
And I mean, dude, actually, this is really funny. Not too long ago, there was well, it's not funny, but I got an invite on one of the kink sites I'm on to participate in a gangbang at that hotel up there off of 23 in Washtenaw.
What?
Yeah, and like women, like dude, the lady who messaged me about it basically was like, it's $40 a guy to join per woman, and like I mean, basically I could have walked out of there with a whole bunch of money for a gangbang. I was like, whoa, yeah, no, I think I'm good on that thing,
Yeah, that's
but I
crazy.
appreciate it. Yeah, it's crazy, it really is. And yeah, so I mean, then there's dudes that like literally will well, not even dudes, women, people will go to, they pay money just to watch the gangbang. So that would be like a voyeur, somebody who just likes to hang out and watch. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to participate or anything like that, but they would pay like $25 per woman there to watch. And like there's like, okay, so I'm sure we've all seen in like various movies, over the years, where it's like there's the couple out in their apartment somewhere or in their condo having sex with their drapes open, knowing that everybody can see them, you know what I mean, like kind of thing, or at the hotel doing that. Like that's exhibitionism. And let's see. There's switches. Switches are a type of they're sadists and masochists, a little bit both, and they like to be topped and they like to top as well. So they switch back and forth between it. I think another thing to talk about is ethical non-monogamy, and polygamy. Those are very, I wouldn't necessarily say they're kink, but they're alternate lifestyles where there's people who do like legitimately have arrangements with their significant others or their spouses to both have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or I've been hit up by couples for me to be their live-in sub and have an allowance and make like have all my clothes purchased for me, and I would just have to like adhere to a very rigid lifestyle of like wake up, work out, shower, and they would all have to be done on a schedule thing. And that's actually like more like a live-in slave sub type thing, which is not my I'm a sub. I'm not a slave. There are girls out there that like to be slaves, though, and it is a legitimate thing in the kink community where it's not even really slaves because they get money and they have all their needs taken care of and stuff like that. But they live very good lives, but they don't have a dominant. They have a master, and what they wear, what they do every moment of their day is very tightly scheduled out, and they actually have to check in with their master and make sure that they're providing proof that they're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And that is a scenario that can actually very legitimately be one of my friends and protectors in the community is a part of what's called the Detroit Leather, which is it's really where a lot of BDSM came from. It's like the gay guys back in like the late 80s, and they were really kind of the ones who brought BDSM a little bit more mainstream. And he's bi, and he does have a live-in sub, but like he's also very well known for helping to rehabilitate. There was a situation recently, so I'm under two of my dominant friends like protection in the community. One out here by the Ann Arbor Ypsi area, one more downriver Detroit area, but like it applies. I've gotten the one guy with my friend. I got sick that day, and it was like the kind of sick where you're like, oh, your body like laughs at you, thinking that you're gonna like, oh, you think you're gonna stay awake? No, you're gonna puke and you're gonna go to sleep, you know. And I literally woke up at this dude's house and my pants were undone, and he had his hands down my pants. So I literally stumbled to my car, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "No, bro, you're trying to pull some shady shit." I think the fuck not. He's blacklisted from any event in Michigan, Ohio, um, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and New York. Like, I mean, a couple other states too, and like he's completely blacklisted from any community event. Anybody who is an event hoster, there's a specific place where they go and they communicate about this kind of shit on like a Discord server or something like that. And it's not messing around with consent, and you know, trying to do some shit to somebody is not something that's going to be taken lightly by anybody in the community. So there was a scenario recently where we found out, like, in the community that a guy had his live-in sub slave guy, and it was actually a very abusive, very fucked up situation. And my friend worked to with other people from Detroit Leather to get this young man out of this situation, and actually had him come live with him and his live-in sub, just to make sure, because there's a very high suicide risk with people who come from that. Someone had just died in the community because they got out of this abusive situation where they'd been living with somebody for almost 5 years, and they didn't know what to do with their life. They had no structure as they were used to. And they literally did not know how to function anymore, and they killed themselves because they didn't, you know, they were like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to live anymore without them here, because um who's going to tell me what to do, and blah blah blah. So my friend you know, brought this young man to live with him and his live-in sub, and just make sure that he was he had some structure. He had, you know, somebody that was safe, that was going to look after him and make sure that he was okay. And you know, it's not the first time that my friend has done something like that. The community is very, very close knit in a lot of ways, especially when you're talking like Detroit Leather people and stuff like that. So
That's crazy, man. But
yeah.
like we were talking about it before, I didn't realize that there was like that big of a thing out there. It's like really literally like a network,
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely it is.
and it's organized.
Absolutely. Yep. Um, I mean, yeah, no. The organizers all know each other, especially when you're in something like the Detroit Leather. I mean, there's a like in any BDSM community, there's always going to be a leather group, like Seattle Leather, New York Leather, New Jersey. I mean, yeah, they're everywhere. Because, like I said, they were really the ones who brought kink mainstream again in a lot of ways, and made people understand that, like, it's not bad. I mean, you know, um, for like, okay, so for me personally, it's a relief to submit, because I'm so used to just having to be in control, and having to, you know, be a parent, and responsible for all these other scenarios and situations. And you know, I'm literally counted on, you know, to there's a lot of scenarios I work in, where I have to do, you know, CPR or something like that because of the work I do. And like I'm expected to be the one to step up and take control of the situation. So for me, it's a fucking relief to be somewhere where I can let go, and I don't have to I don't have to think. I just have to listen. And you know, I I was somebody that cut when I was a teenager because I did not have any good outlet for a lot of the internal pain I had. I was abused by my older sister, physically, emotionally, mentally, very, very badly. I remember calling a friend one weekend and saying like, dude, our mom has to work all this overtime. And if I'm here with her for the whole weekend, I'm literally going to kill myself. I just know it. I know it. I will not make it through this weekend without killing myself. I had already almost gone a little too deep cutting the night before when my mom told me she had to work all that overtime, and so I I found an external outlet for those times where I'm having so much emotional pain and mental pain that it's so much more healthy. You know, I've entered into a relationship with somebody that I trust that you know, like can hurt me in a way that is fun and safe. You know what I mean? We both enjoy it, and I know that I'm going to be looked after. You know, I um, I had a really bad trauma-inducing problem one time, and literally sat there shaking for hours, just like every time I screamed myself raw that night sleeping. Like I kept waking up screaming, fighting, and you know this man, like I got me out of bed several times to get me back in the shower because I was like shaking cold. You know what I mean? And I was just like, you know, when you get, you know how it can be like that when you're having like such bad panic attack or flashback or whatever. You know, you're shaking cold. It's like having a fever almost. And you know, I you know, I think I even at one point tried to say I was okay and we could keep going. And he was like, I know you are not fucking serious right now because you are far from okay. And he, you know, put everything else was a full stop at that point, you know? So, I mean, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was the person who hurt me before his fault, actually, if we're going to be honest. But I mean, you know, it gives me a place to let go, and if like we're coming up to the anniversary of my mom dying pretty soon, and one of my best friends' anniversary passing just went by like last week, and I I have not been doing good with it with my mental health, and I got to see my mom this weekend, and I have been in a much better headspace ever since then because I was able to, you know, get um have this physical outlet where I'm hurting and I don't know how to let go of this hurt and I don't know what to do with this hurt, and it just hurts so much inside that I want this external release for it. And that's why I used to cut, you know, when I was younger, is because it hurt so bad. I didn't know what else to do to hurt myself to make it go away because it was just all mental and all emotional. And
You want to hear something crazy though?
yeah,
You live in proof. Like you can live your life and go through so much and no one know a thing.
yeah.
You know, and I found out years and years later that was a lot. So before you go any further, salute. I salute you.
How about the thing with the
Everything.
cutting? Yeah. No, thanks, thanks. It definitely wasn't easy. I mean, you know the individual who did it to me too, and
Yeah.
I it's hard because I mean she's my sister. I love her, you know, but I mean I there's we're getting a lot more, I think, awareness nowadays about how sibling abuse is actually a thing, and it's not oftentimes just brushed off as sibling rivalry, but I mean, like I literally have her initials carved on my left arm. I woke up one day and she was she carved her initials into all of my CDs. And back then, like late 90s, early 2000s, CDs were not cheap.
They were like
And
$20.
yeah, $25, and $30 sometimes if it was a new release like the Backstreet Boys or something. And um, I was sleeping and I wake up because it hurt, and I'm literally tied down to my bed, and she was carving her initials into me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, I'm branding you. I don't ever want you to forget that I belonged to her, and that she could do whatever she wanted to hurt me. And I couldn't do anything because and her exact words were, I was a waste of perfectly good air that somebody else could be breathing.
Now, with that being said, though, you said a lot of people in that community they went through that type of trauma and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. It's a healthy way for us to, sometimes even come to peace with, what happened to us. And ironically enough, one of my favorite things in kink is to be tied up, and um like there's a very specific crop I like, actually, but tied up or flogged or something. So I mean, do the psych math. The math is mathing on that a little bit. It's
And I have a question though. Do you see people from all walks of life into that type of thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are and I got to say, one of the things that's very frustrating is there's a lot of Black women that are into it, and they take a lot of shit because there's a lot of these guys out there that, and obviously not all men, but there's a very substantial group of white men that are specifically into Black women in really fucked up ways that I don't want to get into right now. But
no, I mean, let me just touch the bases of some of that. It might be such of a fetish thing as well, though, too, right?
It is. I mean, they come from a background where it's not acceptable to sleep with Black women, and
so it's kind of tabooish.
Yeah, and taboo is another big thing. There's a lot of taboo things out there, and but it's also a little bit, in a lot of ways, inherently racist, and how they're treated and shit. I mean, I've recently seen a surge in Black sub only groups, and I am all for that, because I think that they have a very specific set of concerns that they need to make sure that they're keeping one another aware of. And there's sub only groups that are on Facebook even, or on a couple of the platforms I'm on, the other platforms I'm on, where they're local, and then there's more statewide, regional, national kind of things also. But the local ones, are a very good way for us to stay in contact with one another and make sure that we're putting people out there and we're keeping each other safe. And if you don't have I'm lucky that I have friends that I can trust and hit up and be like, hey, I'm gonna go meet this person for coffee. Like when I met my dom, the first time we went and we had coffee, and there were several people who knew his phone number, who knew his name, who knew his address, who had pictures that he had sent to me of him excuse me, that knew where we were going to be, and I stayed in communication with them, and you know, I we ended up going and getting something to eat, and I think we went bowling and did a couple other things or whatever, and it was they knew all of those moves, you know what I mean? Not everybody has that. So a lot of the times in these groups you'll see people be like, hey, I just want to make sure I have someone, looking out for me, and then we'll like reach out to that individual and be like, hey, how's it going? I have a few girls on my Snapchat that I've specifically met from those groups, so I can be a safe person for them. And if something happens, I know the name and all the details of the last person that they were with, and it's a very good way for us to keep track and help keep each other safe. So
to be honest, everybody should utilize that type of
system,
caution. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, for sure.
Because it doesn't look like anything is going to change or it's going nowhere anytime soon because of those type of precautions, and it's safe.
It is.
And is it safe to say safety first?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, 100%, men and women. And I know men like don't always like to take those kinds of precautions because they think that they're untouchable. But I mean, I've had
not these day and age. Nope.
No. I've had male friends be sexually assaulted, and robbed and all sorts of shit.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. You hear about that every day. Someone getting robbed, but the assault part, no, I never. Whoa.
Yeah, no, it's possible for men to be raped.
No, I know that. Yeah. I know that for
a
fact.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yep. All right. Well, I need to go adult, Kent, and I'm happy to pick up on this a little bit more later, or tomorrow.
This has been an awesome episode. We're gonna pick back up on. I got to do some more research and everything. This is awesome. This has been an awesome episode. I'll upload. Make sure you watch. This has been amazing, and I'll hit you up in a few. All right.
All right. Holla holla.
All right now.
Bye.